Okay, now the spine line, which is also called the head line, reveals the health of your spine, and it'll show if you have problems with vertebrae or discs in your back. It will show if they are subluxated, and what this means is they're turned out of place or they could be damaged, or you could have a condition such as scoliosis or a twisting of the spine. It starts right there between the thumb and index finger, or the Jupiter finger, and travels across the palm just under the Mercury finger. Now, pull up your spine chart. It's called the Chart of Effects of Spinal Misalignment, and that section underneath the index finger, if you're on your spine line underneath the Jupiter finger, that represents your cervical spine, kind of that neck area, that 1C to 7C, and it goes down to what's called the Dowager's Hump. This is the hump that you see in older folks when they're walking around and they're kind of bent over there at the neck, just under the bottom of the neck and the top of the back. That's where your cervical spine is. Then the area just underneath that Saturn or that middle finger is your thoracic spine. This is your 1T down to your 12T. That's the back that goes all the way down to your waist. Then there's that area underneath the sun finger or the ring finger, and that's your lumbar area. This is 1L to 5L. This is kind of your waist and your hips. Then, of course, you go down to your sacrum and your coccyx to the tailbone, which is underneath that little or that Mercury finger. Let me tell you a little bit about Kat has a master's degree in health education, and when she was going to college, she was developing her craft in hand analysis, and she came across a book from a longtime doctor, Dr. Eugene Scheinman, and he talked about how your spinal health absolutely shows in your hands, and working with Kat over the years, it's proven to be very real and accurate. And I always get a little chuckle when I hear back on some of the past clients that have taken their charts to their chiropractor or their physical therapist and having an evaluation, and the medical care provider was amazed how spot on the charts were. Okay, let's look at your chart. If you look over there on the left-hand side of your chart, you'll see an image of a spine, and we're going to start right at the very top part of that image. You can see that 1C down through the 5C on that cervical spine in that neck area, and then that 6C down to the 4T, kind of down to the middle of that back, the upper part. Oh, let's see. Oh, you didn't say if you had any damage in that spine or not. They're definitely turned out of place or misaligned. And kind of all the way down through that spine, that 6T down to the 12T, and then that 1L and 2L you've got down in that hip region, down in that lumbar region. And then clear down on that sacrum and coccyx, the very end there, that tailbone. Looks like you've got some issues there. Then if you look over to the right, you'll see the parts of the body that are affected when you've got those vertebrae or discs misaligned or out of place, or if you have any damage to them. And of course, the effects all the way over to the right will show you what kind of symptoms you can have. And I know that we'd talked a little bit about that heart line, where we'd seen some stressors on that. When you've got that 2T out of place, that makes that heart work a little harder than it needs to. And that can lead to a little bit of chronic fatigue or a little bit of anxiety. And then where we'd seen that downturn on that headline that showed a little bit of depression, when you've got that 1C out, especially when you've got that 1C, 7C, and 2T out at the same time, that can really exacerbate anxiety. So you can look around the chart there, and that kind of shows how everything relates to that spine and the symptoms. I'll tell you, when we see this, what we usually suggest is to get into a good chiropractor, or even better yet, a good physical therapist. See if they can't get that realigned, get that energy flowing. Now, these are just little kind of slight markings. Some of these are a little more prominent than others. So that could just be out of place just a little tiny bit. You may not even feel it, but it definitely affects the way that energy flows down through that spine. Especially where you've got that 1C out of place, you want to find somebody that knows cranial sacral work. And what they'll do is they'll go into the roof of the mouth and they'll kind of adjust those little plates or massage the roof of the mouth to get that energy down through that spine. We find a lot of times that when people get those realigned, that they just have a lot more energy, a lot more ambition, and they just feel a lot better during the day. So that's something to consider. And I've seen many of Kat's clients and people she's done readings for, they'll take these charts down and show it to their doctors, and it's kind of a funny story how people will come back and their doctors are just amazed how accurate these spine charts are.